Chapter 1. Let's begin with the first section on your first flipped video. On the second slide, you will see your objectives. Please always review these objectives so you know what to look for and what to listen for when you're reading your chapter. The next slide shows you a graphic organizer. This graphic organizer tells you the main points that will be in your chapter. As you can see here, we're going to talk about the creation stories. We're going to talk about how we are surrounded by God's love, that human life is special, the desire for God is written on the human heart, human beings share in God's divine life, and we are all made in the image and likeness of God. These are your objectives, and this is what you will be reading and understanding. Let's begin. Wants, needs, and desires. We need to understand, before we can even understand our desire to be loved, our desire for God, we have to know the difference between wants, needs, and desires. A want is immediate. I want a drink of water. I want to be back in bed. I want to be at the beach with my friends because they haven't started school yet. Then we have needs. Needs are more important and more long-lasting. Needs, I need to do well in school. I need to be on time for class. I need to try out for a team so I'll feel a part of Rosary High School. And then finally, our desires are deep, longer, and much more personal. I desire to be a doctor. I desire to have a lot of friends. I desire to be captain of my team. I desire to be loved. I desire to have a relationship with God. So this is the first of your objectives, to understand the difference, and we will be making posters of this in class. And where does God fit in our meaning of life? God is the deepest human desire. Remember, desire is something that goes deep, deep in our soul. And the church teaches that we matter to God, that we are the most important thing to God. He loves us unconditionally, and God is the only true answer in our search for meaning for life. People search for it in wants. They search for it in shopping. They search for it in friends. They search for it in drugs. They search for it all different types of places, but they're never going to feel that love. And their heart will not be filled with anything until they can fill it with God. God is our deepest desire. And again, our next objective is to understand that Genesis is a faith account. The way Catholics read the Bible is that we do not read it as a scientific book. It is a faith story, a faith narrative. It is telling us not how the world came to be. It is not scientific, but instead the most important truths of our faith, that everything was created by God for us to be taken care of and respected. Not that it was made in 7 days, not that what came first, what came second, but that God created everything. And He created human beings to be the pinnacle or the top, the most important part of His creation. God created the earth, everything in it, He said it was good. But when God created humans, He said it was very good. Again, the book of Genesis, a faith account. Faith in that we believe that God created everything and maintains it and takes care of it, but we are the caretakers of it here on earth. That God created man and woman, both in the image and likeness of God, and both are equal. And that God gave us dominion over the rest of creation, but with dominion comes responsibility, and we call that stewardship. And that God rested on the seventh day and made it holy, and we are called to do the same. We will discuss this section in your book. It's a little confusing, so we will be discussing this in class together. Again, on to creation. You notice this is the second account. This is Genesis 2. Genesis 2 is the second creation story, but it is really the first creation story. It is much older than the first account. And in this account, God creates man and woman first before creating the earth. And God creates them out of clay, and these are vocab words, Ish, man, Isha, woman, and both are created equally in the image and likeness of God. And is created by God, we are called to love as God loves, love with respect, love with dignity, love of ourselves as well as the world and everyone around us. And a question on your test is, God is love. This comes from 1 John chapter 4, verse 8. This is not the Gospel of John. This is a letter that comes after 1 John. So please remember that. This, as I told you on your objectives, is very, very important. This right here will be you will be making an entire project on this second semester. It is the most important. We will be building on this. We will be talking about it over and over again. So please file it in your brain and don't forget about it. We will be revisiting it in every chapter. We talk about the fall of Adam and Eve in the garden, original sin, that God then makes a promise to Adam and Eve that he will send a Messiah, and our Messiah is Jesus. That he will put division, he will put something between the devil, the serpent, because there was no devil then, that's a later word, and the woman, Eve, and that division is Jesus, because Jesus will strike at evil and banish the evil. Okay, next idea. God's love is all around us. God's love is everywhere in the created world. Everything that God has created, not that man has ruined, but what God has created is beautiful and perfect. And God's love is in every human being. And that love is not to be taken for granted or abused, but is to be shared in God's pure love. And human love should be a reflection of God's love. And we will be talking more about the difference between love, lust, and like, especially when we go into sex and the teenager. This concludes our first section. Please go on to answering the questions in your lesson. Good job.